Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're venturing into the ancient wisdom of Ayurveda. It's this really holistic system from India, all about bringing your mind, body, and spirit into, into a state of vibrant balance.
Exactly. It's like a time-tested approach to feeling your absolute best, you know?
Yeah.
And what's really fascinating about Ayurveda is how it sees everything, including us, built from 5 basic elements: space, air, fire, water, and earth.
Right, the 5 great elements.
Yes. And these aren't just abstract concepts. They dynamically combine inside each of us to create 3 main energies, or doshas. These are called vata, pitta, and kapha.
Okay, so how do those 5 elements actually, shape who we are?
Well, basically, space and air come together to form vata. Vata governs things like movement, breath, communication in the body. Then you have fire and water combining to make pitta. That's the energy of transformation, digestion, metabolism, that sort of thing.
Right.
And finally, earth and water join up as kapha. That gives us structure, lubrication, stability. Everyone's born with a unique mix of these 3. They're sort of inherent constitution. We call that prakriti.
And I guess, life happens, stress, maybe diet.
Yeah.
That can knock us out of that natural balance.
Precisely. Our diet, lifestyle, the environment, even our emotions, they can all disrupt this initial harmony. That leads to a state of imbalance, which we call vikruti.
Ah.
So Ayurveda basically offers this personalized roadmap, a way to gently guide ourselves back to our natural state, that healthy equilibrium.
So the goal for us today in this deep dive is to really get a grasp on these core Ayurvedic ideas and maybe see how we can actually weave some of this ancient wisdom into our modern lives, to feel more energized, more balanced. We're looking at a beginner's guide, really, something practical we can maybe start using today.
Exactly. That's the aim, to give you a foundational understanding and some actual tangible steps you can take maybe right away to improve your well-being. But it is worth keeping in mind, this is an introduction. If you do have specific health concerns, seeking advice from a qualified healthcare professional is always, always the best first step.
Absolutely. Always good advice. So, okay, the very first step on this Ayurvedic journey then is figuring out our own unique makeup, our dominant dosha. How can we start to get a sense of that?
Yeah, understanding your dosha is really key. It's like getting to know your body's natural tendencies. The guide gives us a simplified way to start just by observing some physical and mental characteristics, things often associated with vata, pitta, and kapha.
Okay.
We can walk through some of those initial signs if you like.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's start with vata. What are some things someone with a dominant vata might notice about themselves?
Okay, vata. Well, vata individuals often have hair that's maybe on the thinner side. It could be dry, maybe frizzy, even a bit brittle. Their skin is typically quite thin. Sometimes you can easily see the veins, and it often feels dry, maybe prone to wrinkles. Eyes might be smaller, perhaps moving around quite a bit, finding it hard to keep a fixed gaze.
Okay.
And in the mouth, they might feel dryness. The tongue could be thinner, maybe with a darker coating. Lips tend to dry out, crack easily. Think light, airy, quick. That often points towards vata.
That definitely paints a picture. Okay, what about pitta? What characteristics might we see there?
Pitta types, they often have finer hair. It might be prone to premature graying, actually. Skin is usually warm, maybe rosy cheeks. They can be more susceptible to skin irritations, rashes, things like that. They tend to have a very direct, quite penetrating gaze, really look you in the eye. Their tongue is typically rosy, medium thickness, maybe a bit pointed, perhaps with a yellowish coating. Often a warm, moist mouth. Lips might be thinner or reddish and can get inflamed easily. Pitta really embodies qualities of heat and transformation.
Interesting. Those are clear distinctions. And finally, kapha. What are the common signs of a kapha constitution?
Right, kapha. Kapha individuals often have lovely, thick, full hair, maybe with a slightly oily quality. Their skin tends to be thicker, harder to see the veins underneath. It often feels cool, maybe even cold sometimes, and typically smooth, fewer wrinkles.
Nice.
They usually have large, beautiful eyes, often with a very warm, steady gaze. The tongue is generally thick and rounded, possibly with a white coating. Lips are usually smooth, moist, often quite full. Kapha reflects those qualities of being grounded, stable, substantial.
So as we're listening, we can start thinking, okay, which of these descriptions kind of resonates most strongly? It's like a first pass self-assessment. But this isn't like a definitive diagnosis, is it?
Absolutely not. The guide really emphasizes this is just a starting point. For self-awareness, really.
Hmm.
Getting a truly precise understanding of your Prakriti, that usually involves a detailed consultation with a qualified Ayurvedic practitioner. They can look much more deeply at everything.
Okay, that makes sense. So we've got maybe a general idea of our dosha, or maybe it's a combination.
Yeah.
What's the next practical step? How do we incorporate this wisdom starting today?
Well, establishing a consistent daily routine is absolutely fundamental in Ayurveda. It's called Dinacharya. It's all about aligning your daily activities with the natural rhythms, the sun, the energies of the day. Think of it as creating a supportive structure for your body and mind.
A daily routine. Okay, what does a typical Ayurvedic morning look like? Something we could potentially start, say, tomorrow.
Yeah, definitely. It often begins even before you properly get out of bed. One of the first things recommended is tongue scraping.
Tongue scraping, okay.
You can use a simple metal tongue scraper, easy to find online or in health stores, or even just the back edge of a clean spoon. You gently scrape off any coating from your tongue. This helps get rid of accumulated toxins. Ayurveda calls this amma.
Right, Emma.
And like we touched on, the color and thickness of that coating can give you little clues about your current doshic balance. A thicker white coat might suggest kapha imbalance, yellowish maybe pitta, and a darker or blackish coating could point to vata.
That sounds simple enough to add in. What comes after tongue scraping?
Next up is brushing your teeth. The guide suggests considering natural or Ayurvedic toothpaste. You can often find those in health food shops or even just using plain baking soda.
Okay.
After brushing, oil pulling or Gandusha is a really powerful practice. This involves gently swishing about a tablespoon of good quality coconut or sesame oil in your mouth for, say, 10 to 20 minutes.
Wow, 10 to 20 minutes.
Yeah, it sounds like a long time, but you can do it while you're pottering around. It's believed to be great for oral health and overall detoxification. But here's a crucial tip. Spit the oil into a trash can, not the sink. It can solidify and clog your pipes.
Ah, good tip. Definitely don't want that.
Yeah.
Okay, what else is part of this morning reset?
Well, rinsing your mouth with warm water, maybe with a tiny pinch of baking soda, is often suggested next, just to cleanse further. Then, drinking a glass of warm water with a squeeze of fresh lemon or lime, that's a really common and beneficial practice.
I've heard of that one.
Yeah, it helps gently rehydrate you after sleep. It can help alkalize the system, supports digestion, and encourages regular bowel movements. The guide notes that lime has a slightly cooling effect, while lemon is a bit more heating. So you might choose based on how you generally feel.
Interesting nuance.
It also mentions adding a tiny bit of raw honey can be okay for kapha types, but generally not recommended for pitta or vata. And, importantly, honey should never, ever be mixed with very hot water or cooked. That's considered problematic in Ayurveda.
Okay, good to know. That's quite a few steps, but they all sound pretty manageable. Anything else for the morning routine?
The guide briefly mentions dry brushing, using a natural bristle brush on your skin before showering to stimulate circulation and lymph drainage. It doesn't go into huge detail there, though.
Okay.
But it does discuss Abhyanga more thoroughly. That's self-oil massage with warm oil. The type of oil is often matched to your dosha, so sesame, almond, or avocado oil are often good for vata. Coconut, olive, sunflower, or ghee for pitta, and mustard or safflower oil for kapha. You typically warm the oil slightly, then massage it into your skin, starting from your scalp and working down to the soles of your feet. It's believed to help move toxins out of the tissues, plus it nourishes and protects the skin. Feels lovely, too.
That does sound nice.
The guide also mentions using a neti pot for nasal cleansing and applying something called nasya oil to the nasal passages, and incorporating aromatherapy with essential oils plus some gentle yoga. More details probably found elsewhere, but it's part of the ideal morning flow.
Okay, so that's a very intentional way to start the day. What about the rest of the day? Are there Ayurvedic guidelines we should keep in mind?
Yes, definitely. Midday is seen as really important, especially between about 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. This is considered pitta time, when your digestive fire, your agni, is naturally at its strongest.
Ah, digestifier. Agony, okay.
So Ayurveda recommends eating your largest, most nourishing meal during this window. That way you optimize digestion and get the most nutrients. After eating, the guide suggests just taking a few minutes to rest quietly, maybe then go for a short, gentle walk to help digestion along.
That actually aligns with how many of us naturally feel hungriest, doesn't it? Midday.
It often does, yeah.
And what about winding down? An evening routine to prepare for restful sleep.
Yeah, the evening routine is all about calming the system down. Eating a light, easily digestible dinner at least 3 hours before you plan to sleep is strongly advised. That gives your body time to process it.
3 hours, okay.
A specific practice mentioned is washing your feet with warm water before bed, followed by a gentle massage with bringraj oil. That oil is traditionally used in Ayurveda for its calming and cooling effects, and it's apparently good for the scalp and hair, too.
Foot massage. Sounds relaxing.
Doesn't it? And finally, the guide suggests considering taking a triphala. That's a gentle herbal formula, really good for supporting healthy bowel function, kind of a toner, and maybe drinking warm golden milk, milk with turmeric and spices before bed. That's thought to promote overall health and restful sleep.
Triphala and golden milk.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So establishing these daily rhythms, this Dinacharya, seems absolutely crucial. Now, let's talk food. What fuels us? What are some basic Ayurvedic dietary guidelines we could start implementing today?
Right, diet. A core principle is to really minimize foods that are thought to create toxic buildup, that ama, in the body. This generally means things like frozen meals, leftovers that are more than maybe 36 hours old, heavily processed foods, anything heated in a microwave, really, and canned stuff with lots of additives.
Why is that?
They're seen as lacking in vital life force or prana, just not as nourishing.
Okay, so fresh, whole, minimally processed, that's the ideal. What other dietary habits does Ayurveda recommend?
Well, like we said for the morning routine, starting your day with that warm water and lemon or lime is great for gently kickstarting digestion. The guide also suggests sipping warm water or maybe herbal teas throughout the day. That helps maintain hydration and supports metabolic processes. It really emphasizes eating 3 balanced meals a day, and importantly, trying not to snack in between.
No snacking. That's tough for some.
It can be, but the idea is to give your digestive system a proper chance to fully process each meal and allow your body to tap into its energy reserves and, detoxify naturally between meals. And like we discussed for the evening, that light dinner consumed at least 3 hours before sleep is really key for proper rest and rejuvenation.
Got it. Are there any specific foods or ingredients that Ayurveda particularly highlights as beneficial?
Yes, definitely. Incorporating a little bit of ghee, clarified butter into your daily cooking is often recommended. It's seen as very nourishing and good for digestion. However, the guide does caution against mixing equal parts of ghee and honey. That combination is considered difficult to digest and might actually increase ama.
Interesting combination to avoid.
Yeah. Starting your day with maybe a teaspoon of chayawan-prash, that's a traditional Ayurvedic herbal jam, is also suggested. It's known for its rejuvenating and immune-boosting properties.
Darshan Prash. Okay.
And furthermore, including a variety of tastes in your meals is really important, especially pungent, bitter, and astringent tastes. These are highlighted for their detoxifying effects.
Right. The 6 tastes. We hear about those a lot in Ayurveda. Sweet, sour, salty, pungent, bitter, astringent. How do we actually apply that idea to our food choices day to day?
Well, each of these 6 tastes has a unique energetic effect on the doshas. So sweet, sour, and salty tastes tend to be grounding and nourishing, particularly good for balancing vata.
Okay.
Sweet, bitter, and astringent tastes help to cool and balance the fiery nature of pitta.
Right.
And pungent, bitter, and astringent tastes are generally beneficial for reducing the heavy, sometimes congestive qualities associated with kapha.
So you tailor your tastes based on your dosha.
Exactly. The guide provides specific dietary pointers for each dosha, outlining which tastes to favor and which to maybe have in moderation. For instance, if you tend towards vata imbalances, maybe anxiety, dry skin, you might focus on bringing in more sweet tastes, like from whole grains, root veggies, sweet fruits, sour, lemon, lime, and salty, in moderation, of course, and maybe reduce the really pungent things like chili, bitter greens, or astringent foods like lentils.
That's a really practical way to think about balancing meals. Any other key dietary tips for someone wanting to align with these principles?
Yeah, one interesting one that's often overlooked. Eat fruit separately, ideally about 45 minutes before a main meal.
Oh, why is that?
It's because fruit digests much more quickly than other foods. Eating it on its own allows your body to absorb the nutrients optimally without interfering with the digestion of heavier things like grains or proteins.
Huh. Okay, good to know. So we've got a good handle on daily routines, basic diet stuff. What about other lifestyle adjustments Ayurveda encourages?
Well, a big one is honoring your body's natural signals, not suppressing what Ayurveda calls natural urges.
Natural urges. Like what?
Things like belching after eating, having regular bowel movements, breathing deeply when you exert yourself, coughing when you need to, crying to release emotion, passing gas, eating when you're genuinely hungry,
Okay.
experiencing orgasm naturally, sleeping when tired, sneezing, drinking when thirsty, urinating when you feel the urge, even vomiting if your body needs to expel something harmful. Suppressing these natural impulses is thought to really disrupt the body's flow and can lead to various imbalances over time.
That makes a lot of intuitive sense, actually, just listening to your body. What about toxins from our modern environment?
Yeah, the guide definitely acknowledges that toxins aren't just in food anymore. We're exposed through residues on non-organic produce, pollutants in city air, chemicals in so many household products.
Right.
It really encourages us to become more aware. Read product ingredients, maybe use resources like the Environmental Working Group, EWG, to learn about potential hazards and make more informed choices about what we bring into our homes and put on our bodies.
It really does highlight how interconnected everything is, doesn't it?
Absolutely. That's core to Ayurveda. Mind, body, spirit. They're seen as deeply interwoven. What you take in physically, food, what you see, hear directly impacts your mental and emotional state, and vice versa. Your thoughts, your feelings, they have a profound effect on your physical health.
How does Ayurveda explain that connection?
It talks about different dimensions. The subtle, which is like mind, intellect, ego, the gross, which is the physical body and the environment, and the causal, which relates to the soul, collective consciousness. Nurturing one aspect inevitably supports the others. They aren't separate.
So what's the key principle for maintaining that overall harmony?
A really fundamental concept is like attracts like, or maybe like increases like. For example, if you're feeling heavy and sluggish, eating more heavy, oily foods will probably just make you feel heavier.
Right. Makes sense.
So to restore balance, Ayurveda uses the law of opposites. In that case of feeling heavy, you'd opt for lighter, drier, maybe more stimulating foods and activities that would help bring you back towards balance.
Use the opposite quality to counter the imbalance.
Exactly. The guide also briefly mentions making seasonal adjustments, adapting your lifestyle and diet as the seasons change to align with the environment's energy, like more warming practices in the cold, Veda-dominant late fall and early winter, lighter, less oily foods during the damp, Kapha-dominant late winter and spring, and more cooling practices during the hot, Pitta-dominant summer.
And how does exercise fit into this whole picture?
Exercise recommendations in Ayurveda are also personalized based on your dominant dosha.
Of course.
So for Vata types, grounding, slower-paced activities are usually best. Things that don't overstimulate the nervous system, like Tai Chi, gentle yoga, leisurely walks, especially when it's warm.
Okay.
Pitta individuals often do well with moderately paced exercises. Things that aren't overly competitive or heating, brisk walking, swimming in cool water, maybe non-strenuous biking.
Right.
And Kapha generally benefits most from more vigorous activities, things that promote sweating and help counter their naturally more sedentary tendencies, like running, aerobics, more active styles of yoga, like vinyasa.
So matching the energy level.
Pretty much. And the guide also notes sleep patterns as indicators. Irregular sleep often points to Vata imbalance, while Kapha types usually enjoy deep, sound sleep quite easily.
This gives us so much practical guidance for daily life. Now, the guide also includes a 21-day introduction to Ayurveda. What's the idea behind that structured approach?
Yeah, the 21-day plan, it's designed as a really gentle, sustainable way to start weaving these practices into your life. So you don't feel totally overwhelmed trying to change everything at once, you know?
Yeah.
It breaks it down into manageable steps over 3 weeks.
Okay, that sounds helpful.
Mm.
What does that first week look like if someone wants to try it?
Week 1 is really about setting intentions and just becoming more aware. You're encouraged to think about specific changes you'd like to see, maybe start an Ayurvedic journal to track how things feel.
Mm-hmm.
On a practical level, you try out 3 new Ayurvedic recipes. The guide specifically mentions Kitchari, that simple rice and lentil dish, very nourishing, and CCFT, which is a digestive blend of cumin, coriander, and fennel seeds.
Kitchari and CCFT, okay?
You also start gathering some basic self-care tools, a tongue scraper, a dry brush, maybe some nasha oil for your nose, and an abhyanga oil that suits your general constitution.
Getting the kit together.
Exactly. And on the sort of spiritual or mindfulness side, the focus is on just establishing a short daily meditation practice, maybe 5 minutes, and incorporating some simple breath work, just noticing how these practices make you feel.
Okay, week 1 sounds doable. How does week 2 build on that?
Week 2 is about actively bringing in that morning routine, the Dinacharya we talked about earlier, tongue scraping, oil pulling, warm water, etc. You try making 2 more new Ayurvedic recipes. You learn how to make your own ghee, which is quite simple, actually.
Like Gigi. Cool.
And on the mindfulness side, you introduce silent walking meditation outdoors, connecting with nature. Maybe practice sun gazing safely, very specific instructions needed for that, only at sunrise, sunset. And you continue your daily meditation and breath work, maybe extending the time a little.
Right, in the final week, week 3, what's the focus then?
Week 3 is about deepening everything. You start incorporating the evening routine, the foot washing and oiling before bed, maybe trying trifala, enjoying that golden milk. You gradually lengthen your meditation sessions. Aim to practice some form of yoga daily, even just for 10 minutes. And you begin exploring self-inquiry meditation, asking yourself gentle, introspective questions to deepen self-awareness, like, how am I feeling right now?
Yeah.
Or what does my body need?
This 21-day approach sounds like a really accessible, step-by-step way to start integrating Ayurveda. Very practical. The guide also touches on the idea of spiritual connection within Ayurveda. How does that relate to all these daily practices?
Yeah, while it's presented as optional, especially for beginners, the guide does highlight practices that can deepen that spiritual connection. Things like bringing mindful awareness to cooking, maybe even chanting quietly while you prepare food. The practice of mantra chanting, like repeating the sound which connects to the crown chakra. Various breathwork techniques called pranayama. Regular meditation, of course. Earthing, just spending time barefoot on the earth. Safe sun gazing. That traditional foot washing and massage with a special metal bowl called a kansavatki, and applying oil to the head. These are all mentioned as ways to foster a deeper connection with yourself and, the universe around you.
It really does emphasize that holistic nature, doesn't it? Not just the physical body, but our inner landscape, too.
Yeah.
Now, what about when we run into common health issues? Does Ayurveda offer some natural approaches we can try?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Ayurveda has a whole wealth of natural remedies for common ailments. The guide gives several specific examples. For instance, for constipation, it suggests trying trifala, maybe drinking some aloe vera juice, or having warm milk with a teaspoon of ghee before bed.
Sure.
For managing anxiety, deep breathing exercises are great. Alternate nostril breathing, that's called Nadi Shapana Pranayama. Gentle head massage with a suitable oil. And the herb boswellia is mentioned.
Right. What about something like heartburn?
For heartburn relief, it suggests trying cooling breath techniques, consuming aloe vera with a tiny pinch of baking soda, drinking diluted apple cider vinegar in warm water, counterintuitive maybe, but sometimes helpful, or trying omam water, that's water infused with ajwain seeds.
Omam water.
Yeah, ajwain seeds steeped in hot water. It's also recommended for general pain relief, and for soothing sunburn, applying pure aloe vera gel or maybe a paste of sandalwood and turmeric, or even cool compresses soaked in black tea are suggested. The guide even includes a simple recipe for a natural sunscreen using things like coconut oil and zinc oxide.
It's really reassuring to know there are these natural options to consider for everyday things. The guide also gives some advice on setting up an Ayurvedic kitchen. What are some key ingredients we should think about having on hand?
Yeah, the suggestion is really to start gradually. Replace existing pantry items with healthier, more Ayurvedic-friendly options as you run out. Don't feel you have to do it all at once.
Great advice.
Some key ingredients mentioned are definitely high-quality ghee, chyawanprash, trifala, powder or tablets, a selection of good oils like sesame, coconut, olive, avocado, maybe mustard oil, depending on your needs, and then a range of essential spices: turmeric, ginger, fresh and dry, cumin, coriander, fennel, hing, which is asafoetida, the list goes on.
The spice rack sounds important.
Crucial. And for making kitchari, having basmati rice and split mung beans, mung dal, is key.
Okay.
Building up that spice collection with these digestive and flavorful spices is really a cornerstone of Ayurvedic cooking.
This has been incredibly informative, a really greite deep dive into this beginner's guide to Ayurveda.
Yeah.
To kind of bring it all together, what are the most important takeaways you'd want our listeners to remember as they think about maybe incorporating some of these ancient practices into their modern lives?
I think the main thing is that Ayurveda offers this really personalized, truly holistic path to feeling better. It acknowledges your unique constitution and highlights just how much impact balanced lifestyle choices can have. The most important advice: start small. Choose just 1 or 2 manageable changes, something in your daily routine or diet that resonates with you, and then focus on practicing them consistently. Remember, even small, consistent steps can lead to really significant positive shifts in your health and energy over time.
Consistency over perfection.
Exactly. This introduction gives you a solid foundation, and there's so much more to explore through further reading, or maybe by seeking guidance from a qualified Ayurvedic practitioner for more tailored advice specific to you.
That's fantastic and really encouraging advice. And maybe on that note, here's a final thought for you, the listener, to consider. How might intentionally tuning into your body's own wisdom and into the subtle rhythms of the natural world around you, how might that unlock a deeper sense of vitality, resilience, and just overall well-being? It's really an ongoing journey, isn't it? A journey of self-discovery. And Ayurveda offers this beautiful, time-tested framework to guide you on that path towards greater balance and harmony. Thank you so much for joining us for this enlightening exploration on the Deep Dive.